Hello and welcome to another episode of On Screen. I'm your host Dylan Wright, and I'm here to take you on a journey through film and television. So this week I wanted to talk about a show that it's pretty timely. The second season's coming out at the end of next week. The show is Westworld. This is a show created by Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, based off of the 1973 film written by Michael Crichton, who you may or may not know as the creator of The Andromeda Strain, and more importantly, and probably more well-known, Jurassic Park. It's a show that comes from the mind of a sci-fi expert, as it's about a theme park that's Western themed, that has a lot of androids and robots that eventually overthrow and overtake the park. But in the show, the first season, we're only just seeing glimpses of that terrible future for the humans inside the park. This is a show that definitely has a lot of layers. There's a lot of themes going through it, and there's a lot of things that you can dissect. It's a show that on rewatch, you see a bunch of different little aspects that you may not have picked up on the first time. And I think a lot of that has to do with the writing of Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. They really know how to set up this world and create this unique universe that you could definitely see being a real thing. And I think that the show definitely benefits from having this rich atmosphere to it. Every shot, every frame is just dripping with this Old West feel and also this technological power, and it's really awesome to watch, and you just find yourself absorbed into the show. And a lot of that has to do with the amazing cast of the show, including the likes of Evan Rachel Wood as Dolores in this really cool role. She's one of the hosts, as they call the androids of the park. Actually, she's the oldest host of the park, and she starts becoming self-aware. You don't really know. The show is very ambiguous with that, and it doesn't give you some straight answers for the most part, which I really like in it. There's Thandie Newton, who plays an amazing role of Maeve. These are just like rich characters that, although they're scripted to be these one-note yet dimensional characters, you really feel like there's more to them underneath the surface than you're led on to believe. And a lot of times you're not even sure, okay, is this person like a host? Is this person an android? Is this person real? Because the acting is just so dynamic, and it does something that I really like in fiction with androids and artificial intelligence, and whether or not that's real, that can be considered real or not. And it blurs the line between human and non-human. What does it mean to be human? What makes something more human than something else? These are ideas that are definitely brought up in the show and explored really well. There's a character, Bernard, played by Jeffrey Wright, who is really cool. He has this analytical way of approaching things, and it's different than what most people would see the world, because he created and helped design a lot of these robots. So he's always looking at people's emotions and facial tics and seeing, hey, could I use that for one of an android? And he doesn't quite pick up social cues the way most people would. And Anthony Hopkins is also a really interesting character. He plays the head of the entire Westworld company. He created these robots and created these hosts and created this world. And a lot of the people that are working in the company think he's obsolete, think he no longer belongs in the company. And seeing him just walk around this place and explore and wax poetic about a bunch of different things, it's really, really cool to see. Worth the watch, purely for Anthony Hopkins' performance alone. But everybody else in the cast just is amazing at their roles. And the cool thing about this show is, if you like reading into something, if you like theorizing on what's going to happen and, oh, what does this mean, and who's this person, why is he there, you're definitely going to love this show, because there's a lot of mysteries. It's a show that is wrapped up in riddles and puzzles and things that the audience can solve and try to piece together for themselves. It's really rich in terms of that. And the show's creators are really trying to combat spoilers, because a lot of what rides on the show is not knowing and going on this journey with the characters in the show and not knowing what's going to come next, or who's going to end up with what, or what's going to happen to the people in the park. It's all about the dread or the wonder of discovering what's next for these characters. And the writers are really cool in how they put these pieces together, because they don't, spoon feed you any of these answers. They don't give them to you really easily. They put down the traps for you to spring into, and they just let them catch you. Sometimes you might not pick it up the first time, but once you start realizing, okay, maybe they're trying to tell me this with this scene, or maybe they're actually showing this instead of this, it starts to come together. And I know I'm being really vague in talking about this, but a lot of the joy of this show is coming into this with as little knowledge of it as possible. And it's tough to talk about because a lot of the really cool things the show does are how it sets up things that are going to become so important right in the very first minutes of an episode. They are able to lay down this groundwork that eventually pays off in a major, major way on down the road. There's a character, for instance, called the Man in Black, played by Ed Harris. And this character is kind of mysterious. You don't really know what he's doing in the park. He seems like he's trying to discover something deeper within the park. And you're wondering, where is this guy? Who is this guy outside of the park? Why is he so obsessed with this thing that people just see as simple enjoyment? What is going on inside his mind that makes him want to dig underneath and see what's what? And it's really interesting to see the dynamic of the park goers this way, because you have someone who doesn't look at the park and sees, oh, it's an attraction, it's an amusement park like Disney World. He looks at the park and sees, what is going on here? There's something deeper to this. There has to be a deeper meaning to this. And it's almost like a metaphor for, I've read somewhere that people see it as how individuals play video games. Like, there's people that'll go into Grand Theft Auto and just run over people and kill people. And there's people inside Westworld that go in there and they immediately go to a brothel and have their way with a bunch of women. Or they'll go around just shooting people with the pistols that they're giving. Whereas there's other people who are there just for an adventure. They'll follow the journeys that are set up, the storylines that are set up within the thing. But then there's the people that are like, there has to be a hidden meaning inside this. There has to be something deeper. There has to be something that you could read into. And in a way, it also has a real strong bond with the watchers of the show. Because you'll have people that'll be watching the show just for the violence and the nudity and all of that kind of thing. There'll be people that like to watch the show because of the characters and the storyline and to see where it's going. But there's also going to be people that are going to be delving deep into it and trying to figure out, okay, what is this character really saying when they're saying this? So, like, almost like the different versions of a book club in a way. And the show is pretty meta in terms of talking about these different types of fans. And I think that's one of the strengths of the show. It's almost a show about fandom. And especially how different fandom is today in the age of the internet, where anybody can go online and spoil something, versus fandom in the past where you would go to the schoolyard and talk about an episode of a show that you just watched and you speculate, oh, what's going to happen? Who's going to do that? And now in this day of leaked scripts and people blabbing on about things that they think they know, or their uncle works at the studio, so he knows all the dirt. It's really cool to see a show that displays this journey that the fans are going on inside the show itself. It's definitely worth the watch just for that aspect, but also the storyline is really engaging. The characters are amazingly fleshed out, which, especially for characters that are supposed to be not real and robots, you feel for them. You feel bad when they're cradling their loved one in their hands because some park attendee shot them because they just wanted to have fun. It's really a rich show in terms of caring about the characters and discovering the mysteries and going on a journey with all these different people. So definitely check out Westworld if you haven't. The second season's coming out very soon. I'm really excited for it. I'm going to be watching it the premiere night. I believe it's April 22nd. Definitely catch up on it if you haven't. It's a rich show. It's a show that you'll get sucked into. Definitely binge-worthy. Definitely gets the on-screen stamp of approval. So that's going to be it for this week's episode of On Screen. If you have any future topics that you'd like me to talk about, let me know. I would love to cover anything that you'd like me to cover. And as always, until next time, take care.